Greetings, fellow cultivators. Welcome to Audio Nova. Remember to like and subscribe to support the journey. Today, we're diving into the story of what's the point of cultivating immortality if you don't have money. On the arena. Bai Zhenjian's body moved like a phantom, flashing back and forth at high speed within the circle, constantly dodging the steel balls that shot from all directions. After 2 months of arduous training, Bai Zhenjian's body, under the repeated tempering of the thunderclap true body and the assistance of the true spiritual root, continuously improved the reaction speed and explosive speed of her muscles. At this moment, the nerves running through her body constantly transmitted her will, controlling the contraction and explosion of her muscles, dodging the high-speed steel balls while moving. Because her body's reaction and movements were too fast, she could always dodge the steel balls in the nick of time, while creating a series of after-images. It's much slower than U's. Compared to Zhang Yu, who went all out during her actual combat training, the steel balls in front of her seemed much slower, allowing Bai Zhenjian to even spare time to evaluate them while dodging. At the same time, almost all the contestants from the 3 major high schools were like Bai Zhenjian at this moment, dodging the high-speed steel balls shooting from all directions with ease, forming a sharp contrast with the other contestants, who were constantly being eliminated. In the audience seats, Gang Shan nodded and said, "Jingchen, you're right. These 2 students from Songyang High School have indeed caught up with the level of the 3 major high schools." Li Jingchen smiled and said, "This is the impact of the breakthrough in body refinement technology. Even students who are far inferior to the level of the 3 major high schools in the past have the possibility of catching up with those top students after undergoing surgery." Gang Shan said, "However, their performance seems to be very different from Lemuelin's. They don't seem as effortless as Lemuelin." Li Jingchen nodded, taking it for granted. The supermetabolism surgery brings a comprehensive improvement in drug resistance, allowing for overdoses of various drugs. And the effects of drugs cover all aspects, whether it's strength, speed, explosiveness, balance, flexibility, reaction, focus, digestion. Various functions of the human body can be improved through drugs. In other words, the improvement of the supermetabolism surgery on people is the most comprehensive, without any blind spots or weaknesses. Like the current level, in addition to the speed and reaction of the body, it also tests the brain's focus and endurance, which is difficult to cultivate with most body refinement techniques. But for Lemuelin, who has undergone supermetabolism surgery, all she needs to do is inject a needle into her skull. If 1 injection isn't enough, she can have 2, and she will have a level of concentration surpassing all the students in the venue. Li Jingchen recommended, "If you are interested in the supermetabolism body refinement technology, you can pay attention to the official website of Xiong Pharmaceuticals, where you will find more detailed information." After Li Jingchen praised Xiong for a while, Gang Shan asked curiously, "Will this surgery be very expensive?" Li Jingchen nodded. "Xiong has always wanted to use new technologies to benefit the world. Although the cost of this technology is not low, the surgery fee has now been reduced to below 1 million. Gang Shan said, "This price is indeed not cheap, but recently the Dare to Borrow platform and I have discussed launching a benefit for everyone. As long as you enter the Dare to Borrow platform to borrow money from me, you can waive the handling fee for 6 installments. If you're a brother, come to me to borrow money." Li Jingchen watched the other party do advertising quietly and sighed in his heart. Although Gang Shan is a body refinement internet celebrity, he neither sells medicine nor sells cultivation techniques, only doing loan advertisements, which is the safest thing. The mortality rate of fans is the lowest in the body refinement internet celebrity world. He is a relatively self-respecting clear stream among streamers. I don't know how much money the company spent to invite him to promote the new technology this time. At the same time, just after Li Jingchen and Gang Shan finished their advertising, all the ordinary high school students in the arena have been eliminated. As the dodging space continues to shrink, the students from key high schools have also begun to be eliminated, one after another. He Dai struggled to dodge the high-speed steel balls shooting from all directions. As the dodging space continued to shrink, his brain was highly focused, and beads of sweat kept dripping from his forehead. Suddenly, he felt a slowdown in his leg. The muscle's power exertion did not seem to keep up with his brain's thoughts. Then, accompanied by a burst of crackling collision sounds, he had already fallen to the ground unwillingly. The transplanted muscles ultimately failed to be completely controlled by him, and after a long period of high-intensity operation, an error finally occurred. Looking at his time, it was 58 seconds. He sighed regretfully and returned to the rest area of Songyang High School. Zhao Tianxing on the side looked at he died with some envy, thinking in his heart he actually lasted for 58 seconds, so long. If I were to go up, I guess I would last for 30 seconds at most, right? However, he Dio, who was envied by Zhao Tianxing, did not feel the slightest joy. At this moment, he Dio was looking at the big screen of the live broadcast, with a face full of longing. None of the 3 major high schools have been eliminated. New body refinement technology. It would be great if I could also receive this kind of modification. Li Jingchen commented almost all the students from key high schools have been eliminated. The circle has shrunk by almost half. Next, it will be the students from the 3 major high schools who will be hit. Gang Shen asked curiously Jingchen, who do you think will be the champion of this level in the end? Li Jingchen said calmly the students of Red Pagoda High School are generally too large, which is the most disadvantageous in this level. They should be the first to be hit by steel balls among the 3 major high schools. The 2 students from Songyang have the advantage of small size. They can last longer and be one step later than Red Pagoda High School, being hit along with most of the contestants from Xian and White Dragon. As for the final champion, it should be between Lemulin and Xiong. Although I am very confident in this little sister's strength and Xian's new technology, Xiong is, after all, a golden core disciple. The investment in him far exceeds all the contestants present, and all his data are the highest in the venue. Mulin may not be able to defeat him. In Li Jingchen's comments, although he praised Xiong very highly, he constantly emphasized the other party's identity, as a golden core disciple, between the lines. Obviously, he just wanted to attribute the reason to the golden core disciple, even if Xiong won later, and if Lemulin won, it would be the power of Xian's technology. And the subsequent competition process was also accurately predicted by Li Jingchen. First, the students of Red Pagoda High School were hit by steel balls amidst angry roars of beasts. Then, some contestants from Xian and White Dragon High School were hit by steel balls. Bang! Chu Qiu felt the touch of the steel ball hitting his arm. He snorted coldly, stopped dodging directly, and allowed the steel balls to hit his body hard, making crackling sounds, while he walked out of the room slowly, as if nothing had happened. Dodging back and forth is really annoying. As expected, it's still more suitable for me to resist. As he walked, he also turned his gaze to the big screen, concerned about the performance of the remaining students in the competition. On the other side, after holding on for more than 10 seconds, Lian Tianji was also hit because he couldn't dodge in time. Facing the admiring gazes of countless ordinary high school and key high school students, Lian Tianji walked towards the rest area, while staring intently at the live broadcast on the big screen, watching who else was competing. A trace of regret appeared on his face as expected. I still couldn't compare to Sacred First, and Zhang, Yu, and the others, ha. As the students from the 3 major high schools were gradually eliminated, Gang Shan was surprised to find that Bai Zhenjin and Zhang Yu were still in the arena. Besides Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, the only remaining contestants on the scene were Le, Mulin, and Xiong. Made it to the top 4. Li Jingchen also felt a little surprised, but upon further thought, he felt it was normal. After all, the physical strength of this Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin is ranked 5th and 7th in this arena, and they have the advantage of being small, so it's normal to squeeze into the top 4 in this round. I shouldn't have underestimated them subconsciously because of Songyang High School. After all, they should also have applied the newly developed body refining technology. These 2 people may have the possibility of entering the top 5 in the overall physical fitness ranking. The newest novels are first published on 69shu.com. Li Jingchen reflected on himself secretly, then looked at the arena. At this moment, the circle had shrunk to almost the size of one person. Zhang Yu had already activated his fully concentrated state, observing the steel balls that were slowly shooting towards him, moving his body little by little, trying his best to dodge each steel ball. Bai Zhenjin twisted her body again and again, making all kinds of unbelievable dodging movements, using amazing movement speed, nerve reaction, and flexibility to make up for her lack of concentration, and continued to hold on. But for the 2 of them, the most difficult thing now was not the dodging itself, but to keep turning their heads and bodies to see the steel balls shooting from all directions when there was not enough space to dodge. Bai Zhenzhen gritted her teeth in her heart at this rate. I won't be able to see them all. As the dodging space further shrunk, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen's dodging became more and more difficult, and they were eventually eliminated one after another. 4th place, Songyang High School, Bai Zhenzhen, 2 minutes 13 seconds. 3rd place, Songyang High School, Zhang Yu, 2 minutes 18 seconds. After leaving the arena, Bai Zhenzhen and Zhang Yu, facing the awe-inspiring gazes of the surrounding contestants, also looked at the live broadcast on the big screen with concern, looking at Lemulin and Yuxingyan, who were still competing for first place. Bai Zhenzhen said with some unwillingness, these two guys. I feel like they can see the steel balls shooting from behind them. At the same time, Lemulin on the other side no longer had the composure she had at the beginning. Her eyes and ears, under the effect of the tenfold stimulant, were extremely sensitive, discerning the changes in the surrounding airflow, and judging the position from which the steel balls were shooting. Her brain, stimulated by the tenfold nootropic drug, became hyperactive, constantly judging the order of the dodging movements, and dodging one after another of the steel balls that were shooting towards her, according to the optimal route. The rolling blood flow was like a great river, transporting the potion to every muscle in her body, stimulating the contraction and explosion of the muscles, causing each of her movements to create continuous after images. Even so, as the circle shrank, Lemulin also felt that dodging was becoming more and more difficult. Her brain became hotter and hotter under high-speed operation, and sweat kept secreting from her forehead, flowing down her cheeks, all the way down her snow-white neck. Especially as the dodging space shrank, Lemulin was completely unable to turn around, and her perception of the steel balls shooting from behind relied entirely on hearing, which became more and more difficult. Bang! The moment the steel ball hit her back, Lemulin suddenly relaxed, and with a flash, she left the small room. 2nd place, Xian High School, Lemulin, 2 minutes 25 seconds. When Lemulin, who had left the arena, also looked at the live broadcast on the big screen, she was shocked to find that Yuxingyan was still dodging in that small circle. Lemulin was shocked in her heart. How did he do it? Yuxingyan felt the slowed-down world, and the third eye in his brain seemed to be able to feel the shock of countless people on the scene. Do you all think this is difficult? Level 10 Heavenly Martial Heart Refining Technique allows him to see a slowed-down world in a fully concentrated state. The third eye in his brain allows him to have a 360-degree view. And the highest physical strength among all the contestants, under his burst, showed the most terrifying speed. In the audience, Li Jingchen looked at Yuxingyan's movements and thought to himself, this guy. Can he see behind him? If there is no mono operation, then it is some kind of physical modification effect. But Beilong High School doesn't have relevant technology either. Could it be the means of realist Xinghua? Or, is this guy's natural peculiarity? Li Jingchen couldn't be sure, but he didn't object either. After all, physical competitions test physical strength. If the physical body has peculiarities, it is either a congenital advantage or a technical advantage, both of which are within the scope of the rules. And at the next moment, there was a burst of exclamations on the scene. In the arena. Just as the circle on the ground shrank to the point where it was becoming increasingly difficult for Yuxingyan to stand, he squatted down and pointed down with one finger. He actually touched the ground with one index finger, sat cross-legged, and sat steadily on the circle. Then, with his index finger touching the ground, the other parts of his body continued to adjust their posture, like a silver tree dancing wildly, dodging the steel balls with various incredible, and beyond human limits postures. In the next few seconds, the power, speed, balance, flexibility, reaction that Yuxingyan showed in front of everyone was a perfect and shocking body, showing a dominant strength in all aspects. Until the circle completely shrunk, smaller than the point of that finger, Yuxingyan flashed slightly in the shocked eyes of the audience, and with the force of his fingertip, he soared into the sky, dodging the last wave of steel balls. The steel balls that shot in all directions also stopped shooting, as the circle completely constricted. When Yuxingyan's figure fell from mid-air and stood in the room again, he still had not been hit by a single steel ball. First place, Beilong High School, Yuxingyan, 2 minutes 33 seconds. Yuxingyan on the big screen smiled slightly at everyone present, and said lightly, Xianyuan Group will provide body refining services for imitation demon muscles in Songyang City starting next month. Welcome everyone to pay attention. Seeking monthly tickets. After delivering his advertisement in a single sentence, Xiong knew that an advertising fee of 100,000 would be credited to his account. He smiled, waved at the camera, and slowly walked off the field. Song Hailong coldly watched Xiong on the big screen, his eyes showing no emotion, as if he had expected the outcome of this competition. Song Hailong believed that no one in the audience understood Xiong's strength better than he did. The first place in this physical competition will undoubtedly be his. The others are just competing for second place. Defeating him is not something that can be done overnight. Song Hailong had made up his mind. Whether it took a year or two, he would definitely defeat the strongest opponent in history during his high school years. The next moment, his figure flashed, and his thigh, as thick as a pillar, swept towards Xiong, who was walking towards him with terrifying force. Bang! Xiong raised his calf and casually blocked Song Hailong's sweeping kick. With the collision of their powers, a gust of wind exploded between them. Xiong said helplessly, "You're too direct. I've told you so many times to be more discreet, to hide your hostility. Such straightforward attacks are ineffective against me." Song Hailong said without backing down, "It's okay for me to attack you, but I want to defeat you fair and square." In the audience, Gang Shan exclaimed, "Xiong. Such a powerful physique. Is he really a first-year high school student?" Li Jingchen nodded and said, "After all, he is a golden core disciple. I heard he is also a closed-door disciple of true person Xinghe, and the investment he receives is not comparable to ordinary students. I'm afraid he will be the champion of every stage in this first-year physical competition." After watching Xiong's performance in the previous stage, Li Jingchen understood one thing. The champion of this physical competition was undoubtedly Xiong. So, what he had to do next was to minimize the influence of Xiong's body refining techniques, strengthen the public's impression of him as a golden core disciple, and preferably attribute all of his victories to true person Xinghe. On the other side, in the resting area of Songyang High School, Bai Zhenzhen looked at the big screen with some reluctance. It was still replaying the wonderful moments of Xiong's previous match. Damn it, this golden core disciple is really a freak. I'm afraid I won't have a chance to beat him until my physical strength breaks through level 5.0. But, Bai Zhenzhen looked at Zhang Yu, who was beside him, and said, "Yuzi, I think you have a chance to win him." Zhang Yu smiled as he drank water. "Really? I'm afraid only 2 people in the audience would believe that." Bai Zhenzhen asked in confusion. "Oh? Who else has such unique insight as I do?" Zhang Yu laughed and said, "Of course, it's myself." The two looked at each other and smiled. Bai Zhenzhen continued, "That guy seems to have eyes in the back of his head, which is why he took such a big advantage in the first stage. Otherwise, he might not have been able to lead us by so much. But if we really compare absolute strength and speed, although his physical strength is a bit higher than yours, I don't think his control is as strong as yours. Level 10 Heavenly Martial Heart Refining Technique, Level 10 Body Strengthening 36 Forms, Level 10 Back Dragon Overturning Mountain Hand, Level 10 Scarlet Marrow Hunyuan Key, and Level 10 Excavation Palm, Crane Claw, Racing Car Legs, Elevator Vertical Jump." Zhang Yu nodded slightly. He believed that no one on the field today was stronger than him in muscle, control, and physical strength mobilization. Although his physical strength was 4.95, with his exploitation of physical strength, the power and speed he could unleash were enough to rival, or even surpass, those students with physical strength above level 5.0. He subconsciously touched his heart. If the competition were held later, and his heart's strength could keep up, Zhang Yu would be more confident in defeating Xiong in the contest of strength and speed. But right now, not only do I have to defeat my opponents in the next 2 matches, but I also have to create a sufficient gap to surpass him in the overall score. Pressure came crashing down. Jiang Yu took the stamina potion in his hand and seized every minute and second to rest, recovering the energy and stamina consumed in the previous match. Hidao, who was listening to their conversation, rolled his eyes in his heart, seemingly mocking their arrogance in his mind. But he didn't say anything, because no matter how arrogant these 2 were, their achievements had already crushed him, Hidao. In other words, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen had unknowingly earned the right to be arrogant in front of Hidao. After about half an hour of rest, the walls on the field suddenly shook and began to descend. Immediately afterward, a circular track appeared in front of everyone. The 3rd match of the physical competition was about to begin. The content of this match was also very simple: a 5,000-meter race, scored according to the player's completion time, with a total score of 75 points. Again, no magic power could be used. The competition relied solely on pure physical strength. Naturally, techniques like racing car legs and elevator vertical jump, which required magic power to support them, were also unusable. In this situation that completely relied on the physical body, simple running was the most efficient way to move for most people. And 5,000 meters was very long for mortals, but very short for high school students, allowing them to maintain a sprint state for most of the race. Wang Hai looked at the rules explanation on the big screen, and thought to himself, the key to this match is how to maximize the speed of one's physical body. Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen put on magic power detection patches and stood behind the starting line in order. The contestants who did not make it into the top 20 in the previous stage had been eliminated. Only 20 people remained on the track at this moment. Everyone was wearing running shoes and sportswear uniformly provided by Xian High School to prevent anyone from using immortal techniques on their shoes or clothes to gain an advantage. After all, this was a physical competition that tested pure physical strength. Taking drugs was fine, but tampering with shoes and clothes was a serious violation. Zhang Yu glanced at Song Hailong, Hu Yurtao, Zhang Wenwu, and Yu Xing'an, who were not far away from him. He took a deep breath and activated the heavenly martial heart refining technique, casting aside all distracting thoughts. Only one thought remained in his mind: defeat everyone. And at the moment when he activated the heavenly martial heart refining technique, Yu Xing'an suddenly turned his head and looked in Zhang Yu's direction. Zhang Yu also seemed to sense something, and met Yu Xing'an's gaze. Both of them saw an infinite fighting spirit in each other's eyes at the same time. At this moment, the two instantly understood that the other also practiced the heavenly martial heart refining technique. Yu Xing'an smiled slightly, and thought to himself, seems like the guy who came in third in the previous match also knows the heavenly martial heart refining technique. That's right, I heard senior sister Li said that she originally found a suitable successor here. His gaze shifted, and Yu Xing'an gently mouthed two words to Zhang Yu. Keep up. Then he turned his head and looked straight ahead again. 3, 2. With the command in the broadcast, a total of 20 contestants tensed their muscles, and the surrounding air seemed to freeze with their held breaths. 1. The next moment, it was like 20 cannons firing at the same time. With a series of bangs, 20 afterimages streaked across the track, and everyone shot out. In the midst of the booming sounds, Hu Yurtao was surprisingly in the lead. The demon-blooded student from Hongta High School was now on all fours, his dragon scales standing up one by one with the rising and falling of his live muscles, shimmering with a colorful halo. The posture and habit of running with all four limbs gave him a huge advantage at the moment of the start, as if he was flying in the air. He shot out dozens of meters in one breath, directly leading the whole group. The strong wind rushed towards him, blowing on Hu Yurtao's increasingly scarlet eyes, due to nerve and blood vessel excitement. Father, watch closely, I will take the first place in this stage. The reprimand from his father after the last martial arts competition made Hu Yurtao feel a strong sense of unwillingness, shame, and fear. The fear of working, the fear of being expelled from the family. These 2 months had been occupying his mind, urging him to squeeze out his potential, time and time again. Whenever he thought of those brothers and sisters who died on the assembly line, it always allowed Hu Yurtao to break through the limits of his physical body and training, time and time again. Especially now, he was not fighting alone. His father's blood essence, after being adapted by the bodies of his brothers and sisters, was injected into his body, triggering the awakening of the Black Dragon bloodline. At this moment, Hu Yurtao seemed to be able to feel the blood of his father, brothers, and sisters flowing in his body, like a ball of fire, causing his physical body to burst out with terrifying power. Bang! His feet stepped out a cloud of air on the track. I can win the first place in this stage. Just as Hu Yurtao was running faster and faster, and the confidence in his heart was burning brighter with the fire like blood, a shadow suddenly covered his vision. A male voice came from his side, "Little kitty, you started pretty fast." What? Hu Yurtao turned his head sharply and saw Yu Xing'an passing him, who was moving at full speed, like a shooting star, and constantly widening the distance between them. This guy. Hu Yurtao burst out with a roar. His dragon blood seemed to be boiling, and with the heat rising from his whole body, he accelerated again to chase after Yu Xing'an. He seemed to be able to feel countless brothers and sisters in the boiling dragon blood in his body, shouting at him. Run! Run, Yurtao! Run out of the factory! It was as if the gate of the factory had been opened behind him, and if he was even a step slower, he would be swallowed by the boundless dark gate. But what made Hu Yurtao feel extremely despairing was that Yu Xing'an in front of him was getting farther and farther away, despite his frantic acceleration. The other party was like the real stars in the sky. No matter how hard he tried, no matter how hard he fought, it was difficult for him to touch even a trace. And the continuous frantic acceleration disrupted his original rhythm, coupled with the weight and wind resistance brought by his already huge body. All of this caused his physical strength to be consumed frantically, and his speed also began to slow down slightly. At this moment, another gust of wind swept past. Song Hailong, Zhang Yu, Bai Zhenjin, and Lim Yulin had all surpassed him one after another. Hu Yurtao watched this scene in horror, only feeling that he was running forward frantically, but as several people surpassed him one after another, he seemed to be constantly retreating into the gate of the factory. And the gate of the factory had transformed into a huge dragon's mouth at some point, to completely swallow him. Having overtaken Hu Yurtao, Song Hailong was now in second place on the track. But his face showed no joy, only a focused gaze on Yu Xing'an in the distance. That man. For Song Hailong, his only rival in this competition was Yu Xing'an. At this moment, Song Hailong's muscles were taut, making him look leaner, with a streamlined beauty. This was due to his powerful control over the mimic beast muscles, temporarily transforming him into a speed-type form. The mimic beast muscles, with their powerful plasticity, allowed students to retract the beast features on their bodies after undergoing modification, as their control over their flesh increased. For a top student like Song Hailong, who had already undergone elephant muscle implantation, adapting to the mimic beast muscles was not difficult. He could even temporarily change his physical form to enhance his speed, as his control over his flesh continued to improve. Although the speed gained in this way was only explosive, lacking controllability and unsuitable for the previous stage, it was perfect for the speed competition in this stage. Every muscle fiber, after being extremely constricted, burst forth like a spring made of steel bars, unleashing surging kinetic energy. With each violent beat of his heart, blood was pumped towards every muscle in his body, continuously transporting surging energy and dispersing various medicinal effects throughout his limbs. But it's still not enough. To defeat Yu Xing'an, this is still not enough. Song Hailong recalled his failures over the past period, how he had fallen before Yu Xing'an time and time again, losing to this man in all aspects: Tao heart, mana, physical education, martial arts, Taoist techniques. He recalled the humiliation he had suffered in front of the entire school, time and time again, at the hands of this man. He recalled the humiliation of kneeling, his father's disappointment, his brother's criticism. But he knew that he could only endure at this moment. To defeat Yu Xing'an, I can only chase him little by little. Fantasizing about soaring into the sky and defeating him in an instant is both disrespectful to his talent and disrespectful to the wealth of a golden core true person. I will remember the failure of this competition. I will definitely defeat you in the future. For Song Hailong, taking second place in this competition was already a failure, a humiliation that was enough for him to remember. But after a moment, Song Hailong, who had been in second place, suddenly moved his gaze. In the corner of his eyes, he suddenly heard a series of whooshing sounds, and he saw two figures rushing out from behind him, one on the left and one on the right. Zhang Yu thought to himself, "Thanks, Lao Song, for blocking a lot of wind resistance behind you. For the remaining distance, I'm going to sprint at full speed." Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, who had been following Song Hailong, conserving their strength, suddenly exerted their power at this moment. Watching Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin pass him and rush forward like lightning, Song Hailong was slightly surprised. Their physical strength is clearly below mine, yet they can unleash such speed. They've actually surpassed me. Song Hailong wanted to chase, but he was shocked to find that he couldn't catch up. Have I slowed down? No, they're accelerating. These two guys, they can still go faster? Song Hailong stared intently at Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, who were close in front of him, at the constantly undulating, contracting, and expanding muscles on their bodies. Has Bai Zhenjin practiced a body refining technique focused on speed? Looking at the high frequency of her body movements and the incredibly coordinated rhythm of her muscles, Song Hailong felt an unparalleled lightness from her. He had to admit that he should be able to surpass her in strength, but he was behind in speed. As for Zhang Yu, under the tight-fitting sportswear, Song Hailong's eyes could clearly see Zhang Yu's muscle contours, seeing the flesh and blood from top to bottom as if connected into one, emitting a dazzling brilliance like a perfect work of art with every movement and every burst of energy. Only those with control over their flesh and physical strength, reaching Song Hailong's level, could see the amazing brilliance, making him feel the precision and smoothness of this body. Zhang Yu has perfectly exerted every inch of strength in his body. Zhang Yu's physical strength may not be as strong as his, Song Hailong's, but his control over his body, his mastery of the muscles, and the speed he was unleashing at this moment, made Song Hailong feel extremely dazzling. It's like everyone has electromagnetic force in their body, but not everyone can fire a railgun. At this moment, Song Hailong, looking at Zhang Yu, whose physical strength was a little lower than his, only felt a kind of power, a familiar sense of power. It's Yu Xing'an. Zhang Yu's mobilization of the power of his muscles has already reached the same level as Yu Xing'an. Watching Zhang Yu get further and further away from him, Song Hailong waved his legs desperately, but he could never catch up even a little bit. This feeling was like every time he wanted to catch up with Yu Xing'an. Unconsciously, the figures of Zhang Yu and Yu Xing'an in front of him seemed to overlap. No, they didn't overlap. Damn it, this kid Zhang Yu is going to catch up with Yu Xing'an. In Song Hailong's surprised gaze, Zhang Yu surpassed him, then quickly shook off by Zhenjin, and continued to accelerate again. He actually began to approach Yu Xing'an. His footsteps were getting lighter and lighter, and every moment he was crossing dozens of meters, as if he was about to fly into the sky and pluck the stars in front of him, and the glittering star that Zhang Yu was gradually closing the distance with was Yu Xing'an. Song Hailong's heart shook. He wants to challenge Yu Xing'an. Challenge Yu Xing'an. Challenge the absolute number one in terms of overall physical qualities, surpassing all the contestants on the scene. On the other side, Yu Xing'an's third eye in the center of his brow, clearly saw the figure gradually catching up. Yu Xing'an smiled. Oh. You really caught up. At this moment, when everyone was going full speed ahead and unleashing all their strength, Yu Xing'an actually turned his head abruptly and looked at Zhang Yu, who was chasing after him. He even spoke, sighing, I know you. You're the guy I eliminated, right? If it weren't for me, you would have been accepted as a disciple by my master. So do you hate me? Hearing the powerful voice mixed in the strong wind, Zhang Yu didn't answer. He didn't waste any energy on communication. At this moment his eyes only contained victory. Whether the opponent was Song Hailong or Yu Xing'an, for him, they were just opponents to be defeated. Beat them, win this competition. Get into the top 10. Climb to the second level of Kongshu with Zhen. At this moment, Zhang Yu was just constantly unleashing the power of this body, just like the running of the past days and nights. At this moment, although he couldn't circulate mana, he could still recklessly vent the power of his flesh and blood. Seemingly feeling the firmness in Zhang Yu's eyes, Yu Xing'an smiled slightly and said, not bad condition, as expected of a guy who has also mastered the heavenly martial heart refining technique. Then I'll play with you. In everyone's surprised eyes, Yu Xing'an suddenly slowed down his speed, in contrast to Zhang Yu who was chasing all the way, as if he instantly retreated backwards, retreating to a position level with Zhang Yu. Then, as Yu Xing'an and Zhang Yu sprinted side by side, causing a gust of wind, his right hand slowly extended 3 fingers. 3. Then 2 fingers. 2. Zhang Yu's breathing sank, and he gritted his teeth in his heart countdown. This guy. Zhang Yu immediately understood. Yu Xing'an wanted to retreat to the same position as him and then compete again. The next moment, Yu Xing'an's outstretched fingers became 1. 1. Zhang Yu roared in his heart. If just now was a full sprint, then at this moment, every muscle and every strand of qi and blood in Zhang Yu's body was overloadedly erupted under his exquisite control. Although he couldn't circulate mana at this moment, the runner's legs, the elevator jump, the 36 bodybuilding exercises, the Scarlet Marrow Primordial Key 1 Level 10 technique after another, and the physical experience of countless sprints were still overloadedly exerted by Zhang Yu at this moment. The flesh and blood all over his body seemed to become an extension of his thoughts, and under the command of his will, he sprinted forward frantically. For the competition team of Songyang High School, the muscle self-limitation that needed surgery to unlock, for Zhang Yu at this moment, was something that could be directly broken through with his powerful control over his body. Under this overloaded eruption, his muscles began to tremble, his internal organs seemed to groan, and his whole body burst out with speed beyond the limit. But he no longer had the energy to pay attention to these, his eyes only remained on Yu Xing'an, who was being tightly bitten next to him. I can defeat him. My control over my body is stronger than him, I am better at accelerating than him, and I am better at exceeding the limit than him. Even if my physical strength is lower, I can be faster than him. Under the shocked gazes of countless people on the scene, Zhang Yu and Yu Xing'an's bodies accelerated again and again, like a race start in a race. The two figures were like two streams of light, instantly shaking off everyone and speeding along the track, all the way. Running side by side. So fast. Qianshen murmured, can a high school student be so fast? In the rest area of Songyang High School, He Dao, Qianshen, Zhao Tianxing, and others were all shocked to see this scene, watching Zhang Yu actually run side by side with Yu Xing'an, the strongest in the audience, like two flashes of lightning shuttling on the track. With a physical strength of level 4.95, running side by side with Yu Xing'an of level 5.07, Wang Hai looked at Zhang Yu, who was moving at high speed on the big screen, with an excited face, and thought tremblingly, that is to say, Zhang Yu's excavation of physical strength is above Yu Xing'an? But he quickly suppressed this incredible idea. No, it's impossible, it should be some kind of powerful drug that stimulates potential, right? But to make Zhang Yu catch up with Yu Xing'an's speed, the side effects of this drug must be extremely large. Wang Hai looked at Zhang Yu on the big screen with concern, can he hold on? On the stands. The streamer Gang Shan exclaimed, this student from Songyang High School can actually keep up with Yu Xing'an's speed. These two people's level is stronger than most second-year high school students, right? Le Jingchen also looked at this scene with great surprise, and thought to himself, what exactly did Songyang High School do? He nodded. He should have taken some kind of powerful drug to allow him to keep up with Yu Xing'an's speed in a short period of time. It can be seen that under the action of new technologies and drugs, it is not impossible for ordinary people to challenge Golden Core disciples. Saying that, he let Gang Shan aim the camera at Lemulan's direction. After warming up for so long, the drug's effects should have fully taken effect. Mulan is going to exert her strength, right? On the track, Lemulan, who had been in 5th place, suddenly accelerated, first surpassing Song Hailong in one breath, and then constantly approaching by Zhenjin. At this moment, her cheeks were red, her breathing was heavy, her flesh and blood were constantly emitting bursts of heat, and the purple vertical pupil mark on her forehead became more and more vivid. Lemulan's mind surfaced with what the coach had just said. This is the latest banned drug from the Xian laboratory, 1 for 100,000. And the drug's effect is enough to burn out the internal organs of ordinary high school students. But you, who have undergone super metabolism surgery, can completely withstand it. Because after the drug's effect passes, the flesh and blood all over your body will fall into a state of extreme fatigue, so you can only eat it before the start of this level. And all you have to do after eating this drug is run. Before the drug's effect passes, run the remaining distance with all your strength. Listening to Nova. Even with her ice jade constitution, Lemulan felt as if her body was about to melt. The power within her, driven by the drug's potency, erupted like molten lava, propelling her forward like a gust of wind. Whether it was Xian High School, Xian Pharmaceuticals, or her family, they had all invested heavily in this competition, and the subsequent promotion of the new technology. This gave Lemulan a sense of responsibility she had never felt before. But she didn't dislike this responsibility. The family's care, her parents' investment, her brother's guidance, all of this allowed her to live the life of a privileged daughter from a young age. Because her genes and her talent were deemed the most outstanding after repeated testing. So she constantly demanded, constantly received care, and was constantly treated with various favorable conditions. And this also made Lemulan feel like she was holding her breath. She hoped to let everyone in the family know, to let those brothers and sisters who had been screened out understand. She was worth the investment. And in this breakthrough in body refinement technology, in the company's battlefield extending to physical competitions, she finally had the opportunity to prove herself to her family and repay her parents. Lemulan's eyes were fixed on Yu Xing'an and Zhang Yu in the distance. I originally thought I could get second place. With a soft whoosh, Lemulin had already sped past by Zhenjin. This distance continuing to stare at the figures of Zhang, Yu, and Yu Xing'an, Lemulin gritted her teeth in her heart, and said it's too difficult to catch up. No, I have to at least try. Just then, Lemulin suddenly noticed in surprise that a shadow had appeared beside her. Someone is catching up? Who is it? Song Hailong. But looking at that slender figure, Lemulin knew it wasn't him. Then it's Bai Zhenjian? Seeming not to have expected that the figure she had just sped past would actually catch up, a trace of surprise flashed across Lemulin's face. She can actually keep up. On the other side, Bai Zhenjian, amidst the strong wind, only felt a tearing pain coming from many parts of her body, and her internal organs were also bearing tremendous pressure. Unlike Zhang Yu, who could explode his physical strength beyond his limits simply by deeply excavating his body, and without taking much medicine. Although Bai Zhenjian had also benefited from the tempering effect of the Scarlet Marrow primordial key through her spiritual root during this period, she ultimately could not reach Zhang Yu's level. So before the start of the competition, she had also given herself 12 acupuncture needles in a row, which was the source of the pressure felt by her internal organs. But after accelerating forward with Zhang Yu, with the continuous acceleration of blood circulation, and the full exertion of her muscles, she felt the scars on her body become more and more painful. So she didn't continue to run at full strength, but chose to maintain her third-place position. Anyway, I can't catch up with Yu Xing'an, I'll leave this guy to Yuzi. I'll maintain my physical condition, I can't get injured before the next level. But just as Bai Zhenjian was thinking this, Lemulin caught up. Bai Zhenjian understood that she could no longer have the idea of conserving her strength. Yuzi will defeat Yu Xing'an and take first place. I have to keep third place, otherwise, I'll be laughed to death by him. Silky strands of heat emanated from Bai Zhenjian's body, and under the intense exertion of her muscles, the scars on her body gradually turned crimson, as if they had turned into dragon claws, constantly tearing at her body, causing her to feel a flesh-tearing pain. And feeling Bai Zhenjian, constantly trying to catch up, Lemulin desperately accelerated, trying to shake her off. How can I lose to this poor person? I want everyone in the family to know that the money invested in me was not wasted. Bai Zhenjian stubbornly chased behind Lemulin. The two figures swept across the track, and the strong winds they stirred up collided with each other, as if they were about to rub out sparks. I want to be on the top 10 with Yuzi. The scarlet scars on Bai Zhenjian's body became more and more enchanting, as if they were about to drip blood under her full acceleration, and the pain of flesh being torn apart was constantly transmitted. Damn it, I knew I shouldn't have saved money on painkillers. A roar rose in her heart, and Bai Zhenjian frantically squeezed her increasingly painful body, stubbornly fighting with Lemulin, to the last 500 meters. Roar! The two roared in their hearts, and at this moment, only one thought remained in their minds. Surpass the opponent. I must surpass the opponent. In the next moment, in Lemulin's shocked gaze, Bai Zhenjian crossed her body, and returned to the third-place position. But when Bai Zhenjian looked forward with an excited face, she found that Zhang Yu's speed had slowed down slightly. Zhang Yu and Yu Xing'an, who had been running side by side like two bolts of lightning, had already determined the winner. Whoosh! In the end, Yu Xing'an crossed the finish line first. Zhang Yu followed closely behind, stopping with a pale face after crossing the finish line. Bai Zhenjian crossed the finish line in third place, and ran to Zhang Yu with a concerned face. What's wrong with you? Zhang Yu shook his head, indicating that he was fine. Zhang Yu felt his heart, after fighting all the way with Yu Xing'an, with his body being pushed to the limit again and again, he felt his heartbeat getting faster and faster, as if it was about to explode from his chest. The beating of the heart seemed unable to keep up with Zhang Yu's coercion of his body, unable to satisfy Zhang Yu's will to explode his body. But in this situation, under the pressure of this fierce battle, and under Zhang Yu's continued frantic squeeze, he could feel his heart breaking through the transformation that originally needed several days to complete in that short period of time, breaking through its own limit. And the price was that the heart muscles were worn and consumed in this competition, causing him to fall behind Yu Xing'an in the final sprint. Zhang Yu thought to himself, just like muscles that break through their limits after exercise need to grow and recover to become stronger. Although my heart has broken through under this coercion, it will not become stronger out of thin air, but needs time and resources to repair and grow before it can become stronger than before. At this moment, Zhang Yu only felt an extreme sense of hunger in his body. He needed a lot of food and a lot of nutrition to replenish the consumption of the competition just now, and his heart, which had completed the breakthrough, was clamoring for nutrients and wanted to become stronger. Breaking through the limit is just breaking through the limit. Zhang Yu touched his chest and thought true growth cannot be separated from the material and energy foundation. If my heart wants to become stronger, it now needs a lot of nutrition and food. And then cooperate with the scarlet marrow primordial key to accelerate digestion and growth. The 10th level scarlet marrow primordial key gave Zhang Yu a strong metabolism and digestion ability, which is also one of the reasons why his physical strength can skyrocket. On the other side, Xiong glanced at Zhang Yu coldly and thought to himself, the deceleration at the end, is it because the drug effect is over? Or is it a side effect? Although he understood that the other party should have taken some kind of powerful drug to keep up with him, he felt a strong displeasure in his heart that he was kept up with by a student from Songyang High School, especially since the other party was the guy who had taken his golden core disciple position. It seems I was a little too careless. Next game, I'll take some medicine too. And when the surrounding cameras were pointed at him, Xiong immediately smiled again. Everyone, remember to pay attention to Xiong Group's imitation demon muscle surgery next month. After leaving the arena, Xiong connected to a call from Li Zulian. Li Zulian is the daughter of Xinghe Zhenren and Xiong's nominal senior sister. Li Zulian asked, "How was the competition?" Hearing Li Zulian's inquiry, Xiong reported the results to the other party. "I won the first place in the first 3 games. It's no problem to win the first place in the last game. Don't worry, senior sister, I won't let Xianyun's contract have any problems. Who else can be the first in the total score of this physical competition besides me?" In the audience, Li Jingchen's face was a little ugly, only because Le Mulin didn't even make it into the top 3, and was only ranked 4th. On the contrary, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin didn't know what technology and powerful drugs they used to squeeze into the top 3. In particular, Zhang Yu kept pace with Xiong for a while. Although it had a lot to do with Xiong's initiative to retreat, it was enough to attract countless people's attention and completely steal Le Mulin's limelight. Songyang High School. Thinking that Xian High School had been overshadowed by Songyang High School, a cold light flashed in Le Jingchen's eyes. In the next moment, with the vibration of his mobile phone, a series of messages were sent. Le Jingchen glanced at the screen of his mobile phone and thought to himself, Chechen from the Zhu family and Ling from the Lane family both said that there is no technological breakthrough on the Songyang High School side. And they said that this Zhang Yu is by Longzhang Pianpian's dog. Le Jingchen's heart moved as Beilong High School, Xianyuan Group? Is it Xianyuan Group's small actions? He suddenly turned his head to look in the direction of the big screen, and thought to himself, if Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin are also using Xianyuan Group's technology, then in the top 10 rankings, wouldn't there be 5 people invested by Xianyuan Group? Le Jingchen seemed to have already seen that after the end of the sports competition, with the exposure of the technology behind Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, Beilong and Xianyuan Group became the biggest winners. Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin immediately rushed to the buffet area after the end of the 3rd game. While walking, Zhang Yu, who was pale, said to Zhen, "I want to eat more, and then use my skills to digest and accelerate the strengthening of my heart, so that I can definitely play my physical strength more perfectly in the next level, and then defeat Xiong." Bai Zhenjin frowned and said, "Even if you get the first place in the next level, it's not enough to get the first place in the total score, right? In the 4 games of the sports competition, physical strength accounts for 50 points, agility level accounts for 75 points, speed accounts for 75 points, and the final strength level accounts for 150 points. Bai Zhenjin felt that in the case that Xiong had won the first place in the first 3 levels, even if Zhang Yu got 150 points in the 4th level, he would not be able to catch up with the other party. So not only must I get the first place, but I must also widen the gap between me and him in the strength level. Xiong now has a full score of 200 points for the first 3 levels combined, while I have 191 points. Zhang Yu said solemnly, the score is based on the performance of the players. In the case that I get the first place and get 150 points, the more I perform stronger than Xiong in the strength competition, in the next level, the lower the score he will get. If I want to win him, I must suppress him to below 141 points, or in other words I must lead him, by more than 9 points. Hearing this, Bai Zhenjin felt an incomparable difficulty. In a competition with a total score of 150 points, to lead Xiong, that monster, by more than 9 points? Is it possible? Zhang Yu said no matter whether it is possible or not, I always have to try. Moreover, in order to allow the players who have just exploded with all their strength to get enough rest and restore their physical strength and energy, there will be a rest time of 1.5 hours before the next level starts. We can do a lot of things in these 1.5 hours. So after arriving at the buffet area, Bai Zhenjin brought Zhang Yu plate after plate of food, watching the other party gobble it down. With gurgling sounds, Zhang Yu poured a large bucket of synthetic food into his mouth, swallowing it all in one go. Immediately afterward, he circulated his scarlet marrow primordial qi slightly. With the movement of his internal organs, he accelerated the digestion of the food, and then took another bucket of synthetic food, handed over by Bai Zhenjin. Having experienced the overload sprint and physical exertion of the previous round, Zhang Yu felt as if his entire body was parched, especially his chest, where his heart seemed to be constantly crying out for food. Bai Zhenjin was busy running around, constantly delivering buckets of synthetic food to him. Compared to pre-made meals, synthetic food wasn't as tasty, but it was easier to digest and more suitable for Zhang Yu's current condition. In order to facilitate better and faster digestion, and to avoid wasting even a bit of strength and nutrition, the synthetic food Bai Zhenjin brought didn't even have any flavoring. It was just pure nutrition, added to Zhang Yu's body like refueling a machine. Although it tasted terrible and disgusting, for the sake of the upcoming competition, Zhang Yu closed his eyes and tried his best to stuff these things into his stomach. Besides Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, many other school students also came to the buffet area to eat. There were ordinary high school students who had already been eliminated and were just there to get a free meal. There were also students like those from Red Pagoda High School, who were large and had enormous appetites. However, wealthy students like Yu Xing'an, Song Hailong, and Lim Yulan were eating their own food and didn't come to eat with these students. Hu Yurtao devoured the synthetic food in front of him. Zhang Wenwu, in front of him, was even more like a whirlwind, swallowing bucket after bucket of synthetic food. Seeing Zhang Wenwu's eating habits, Hu Yurtao couldn't help but admire him. To prevent food from affecting his cultivation, Big Brother had his taste buds removed long ago. How many people can compare to that kind of determination? Zhang Wenwu glanced at Hu Yurtao and said, "The first 2 rounds weren't our strong suits. It's okay to be behind a bit. But in the upcoming strength trial, we must let everyone know that Red Pagoda is the strongest." Hu Yurtao nodded fiercely. "Big Brother, I understand. Even if my hands and feet are broken in the next round, I will definitely hold on until the end." At the same time, as Zhang Yu was eating frantically, 2 figures suddenly appeared in front of him. It was Zhe, the vice president of the student council of Songyang High School, and Lan Ling, the head of the sports department. Zhang Yu glanced at the name tags on their chests, thinking that these 2 guys must have gotten on Xian High School's good side to be able to come to the contestants' buffet area. Zhu Shechin looked coldly at Zhang Yu, recalling the conversation he had with Xian earlier. He thought to himself, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin probably used Zhang Pianpian's connections to receive technical modifications from Beilong High School. If Beilong makes this move secretly, and then announces after the competition that Bai Zhenjin and Zhang Yu have also received the latest body refinement technology modifications from Xianyuan Group, then the number of ranked athletes under their name will exceed those of Xian or Red Pagoda, making them the biggest winner in this promotion of the new body refinement technology. Recalling the deal Xian made with him, Zhe said indifferently, "Don't be too active in this round. Just participate casually." Zhang Yu frowned and didn't reply, continuing to eat. Zhu Shechin didn't seem to care whether Zhang Yu answered or not, and said lightly, "Your collusion with Beilong High School has been seen through by other companies. If you want to continue to be in the limelight, and think that Zhang Pianpian will give you an extra piece of meat, you should also think about how other companies will deal with you. Will the people behind you protect you? Don't end up being sold and still counting money for others." After saying these words, Zhu Shechin left with Lan Ling. On the way out, Lan Ling asked in confusion, "Is that all we need to do? Don't we need to threaten him? Now that we have Xian backing us, we don't need to worry about Zhang Pianpian anymore, right?" Zhu Shechin glanced at Lan Ling helplessly, thinking that this guy had really turned his brain into muscle. As expected, one shouldn't pursue extreme results in body refinement. After thinking about it, Zhu Shechin explained, this arena is now a battlefield for Red Pagoda Husbandry, Xiong Pharmaceutical, and Xiong Group. These three major companies are exerting their influence behind the scenes. If you try too hard, aren't you afraid of being crushed to death by the aftermath of the clash between these three giants? Seeing Lan Ling's thoughtful expression, Zhu Shechin further explained, just mention it to Zhang Yu slightly, to show that we made a move. Don't try too hard. In case you get targeted by Zhang Pianpian, or even the Xiong Group. The reason we can trade with Xian is ultimately because our family has enough capital, and Songyang High School's transplantation technology is also what Xian wants. So we don't need to be like Zhang Yu, who only has a worthless life and has to go all out. What if he puts on a temporary show of glory? In the end, he won't be able to get into the top 10, he'll be a dog for others for the rest of his life, and he'll definitely be targeted by the company, and sold by Zhang Pianpian, for a good price. Zhu Shechin recalled Zhang Yu's appearance just now and continued, and look at how weak he looks. Obviously, he must have taken some kind of strong drug in the last round, to catch up with Yu Xing'an. It may have damaged his potential, or ruined his health. Plus, the pressure we just put on him will definitely have an impact on him. The next round is the strength trial, which is an advantageous round for Beilong and Red Pagoda. Zhang Yu's body has problems, and his mind is also affected, so his final result will inevitably be unfavorable. In this way, we've warned Zhang Yu according to Xian's requirements anyway, and Zhang Yu didn't get good results in the end, so that's enough to explain to Li Jingchen. Lan Ling nodded repeatedly, feeling that Zhu Shechin was indeed the vice president of the student council, and he was more thoughtful than him, the head of the sports department. On the other side, Jiang Yu ate while watching Zhu Shechin and Lan Ling leave, thinking, what were these two guys talking about just now? However, after hearing the word company, Zhang Yu became a little more cautious. After thinking for a while, he called Zhang Pianpian, and explained the current situation of the competition. Then he asked, if I win against Yu Xing'an in the next round, will I be targeted by any company? Zhang Pianpian smiled and asked, can you win? After thinking about it, Zhang Yu nodded firmly. I'm confident. Zhang Pianpian, then go in. If you can take first place, I'll help you negotiate with Beilong. You just need to admit that you use the Xiong Group's technology to improve your body refinement, and then wait to collect the money. Hearing Zhang Pianpian's answer, especially the last word money, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjian instantly became excited. After hanging up the phone, the two of them swept away the remaining food like a whirlwind, stuffing their stomachs until they were bulging. Touching his stomach, Zhang Yu let out a breath. I'm full. Next is to digest, and then promote the body's growth and recovery, completely completing the breakthrough. Just then, Zhang Yu looked at the scars on Bai Zhenjian's body, and recalled the strange state of Bai Zhenjian after the sprint just now. Zhang Yu suddenly said, Zhen, after we win the championship this time, I'll pay to get rid of these scars for you. Bai Zhenjian, you said it. The hospital's treat is on you. The hospital's treat is a social activity that only close friends and relatives have in Kongshu. Zhang Yu nodded. Don't worry, has Dad ever lied to you since you were little? Bai Zhenjian, you son of a bitch. The next moment, the two came to a relatively secluded toilet. Then Bai Zhenjian hugged Zhang Yu from behind, leaned close to him, and said, Anew, I'll lend you the true spiritual root. Zhang Yu was slightly stunned and said, Zhen, what about you then? Bai Zhenjian smiled. I can't break through in this 1.5 hours anyway. It's enough to digest the food and recover some strength. I don't need the true spiritual root. But you kid, remember to take me to the hospital for a treat after you win. With that familiar spiritual route drilling into his body again, Zhang Yu took a deep breath, nodded, and then walked into the toilet. Then he took out a primordial pill that he had prepared long ago, from the medicine box in his arms. I originally thought I wouldn't need to train today, so I wouldn't need it. But it's a good thing I brought it. After all, Jiang Yu usually kept such an expensive thing as the primordial pill in his backpack. The next moment, Zhang Yu swallowed the primordial pill in one gulp. With the surge of medicinal power and the flood of spiritual energy, Zhang Yu had already fully activated the Scarlet Marrow primordial key. The muscles on his body tensed up, constantly absorbing the rampant medicinal power and spiritual energy in his body. At the same time, his heart, which had been damaged in the previous sprint, was like a black hole, frantically absorbing the nutrients Xiong Yu had eaten, as well as the medicinal power of the primordial pill, and the spiritual energy brought by the spiritual root. His internal organs were like a rock crusher, constantly and thoroughly breaking down the synthetic food he had just swallowed, turning it into streams of warm current that poured into Xiong Yu's blood vessels, replenishing his limbs and bones. And under long-term cooperation, the true spiritual root in his body had long been accustomed to Xiong Yu's cultivation of the scarlet marrow primordial key. At this moment, streams of spiritual energy were even being poured into his internal organs, filling those streams of warm current, accelerating Xiong Yu's digestion and absorption. The largest stream of warm current naturally surged towards Xiong Yu's heart, accelerating its growth and strengthening in every minute and every second. Under this constant supply, Xiong Yu's originally pale face gradually became rosy, and his breathing and heartbeat became more and more powerful. Especially with the circulation of the scarlet marrow primordial key, Xiong Yu's heartbeat was like a big drum, gradually making a loud booming sound that echoed in the toilet in front of him. Outside the toilet, Bai Zhenjin guarded the door, preventing others from breaking in, lest someone disturb Xiong Yu, or see Xiong Yu's training movements. Bian Tianji, who wanted to chat with Xiong Yu, came here and couldn't help but ask curiously, "Xiong Yu is cultivating inside?" Bai Zhenjin nodded and said, "The toilet is quieter, which makes it easier for him to concentrate on his cultivation and rest." Bian Tianji glanced thoughtfully in the direction of the toilet, chatted casually with Bai Zhenjin for a few words, and then left. As an hour and a half gradually passed, Bai Zhenjin listened to the movement coming from the toilet, and felt Xiong Yu's increasingly strong heartbeat. She gradually felt a sense of confidence in her heart. "After Yu takes first place, I must borrow money from him fiercely." In the blink of an eye, an hour and a half had finally passed, and the final round of the sports competition, the strength trial with a total score of 150 points, officially began. In the center of the arena, a 2-meter-high platform rose up. Then, a giant pillar descended from the ceiling of the gymnasium. The giant pillar was silver-black throughout, covered with layers of dense runes. It was made of some kind of unknown metal, and was about 5 meters in diameter. The giant pillar descended from the sky, extending all the way down from the ceiling, and finally stopped 3 meters above the platform. This was the sky pillar of the final round. The pillar could burst out a force of at least 1,000 kilograms, and up to 100,000 kilograms, accurately testing the strength limit of key training experts. The many contestants in this round had to take turns to step onto the stage and support this sky pillar. That's it for today's chapter. Don't forget to like and follow so you won't miss the next update. Thank you all for listening.